Hi everyone, it's Kelly from Kelly's Bead Boutique. So I've been making and teaching how to make jewelry for a very long time now. And one of the things that I hear all the time is, you make it look so easy. Well, that's because I think it is. So I'm going to take some simple parts and some simple techniques, and I'm going to teach you how to make your very own jewelry. So if you want to see what I'm making today, come and join me. So to make our piece today, we're going to be starting with some beautiful Czech Glass Hibiscus flowers. I also paired them up with some 4mm fire polish, and I sort of went with the colors of fall that sort of look like my yard right now, and I just think they're so beautiful together. We're also going to be using some head pins that have little balls on the end of them. We have some ear wires, some 22 gauge craft wire. We have some heavier jump rings, some of these distressed oval rings, a pair of these beautiful TierraCast leaves, and some chain. Now, if you do buy a kit, what you're going to do is you're going to get a long piece of chain that's going to just be one long piece. So what I usually do is I take one of my head pins, I find the middle section, so it's going to be twice as long, and then you're just going to cut that middle section, and that will give you two equal parts. What you want to end up with is something that's about like this, which is 7 pieces of chain on each one of these. And as far as tools today, we're going to be using our 4 basic tools. We're going to use our round nose pliers, our cutters, our bent chain nose pliers, and our chain nose pliers. So let's get started. The first thing I'm going to do is cut myself a little bit of wire, and if you do buy a kit, you'll get plenty of wire to create your piece. So the next thing I do is I take my chain nose pliers and I put it at the top of the wire, and then I just pull this down, and I just want that to sort of straighten it out a little bit. It makes it a lot easier for creating if you've got a nice long piece of wire there instead of something that's got a bend to it. So I'm going to go down about 1.5 inches or so, and I'm going to use my thumb and push away so that I create that nice sharp 90-degree bend. Then I'm going to take my round nose pliers and I'm going to come in here, and I'm going to go, I'm creating the very top part where the ear wire is going to go, so it doesn't need to be very big, so I don't want a large loop there, so I'm going to just go part way up my pliers. So I'm going to come in from behind, push that wire straight up and over, and then use my thumb to form it right around the tool and create a nice loop. Now I'm going to open, rotate my pliers so they're parallel to the table, and then I'm going to pull that straight to the back. And then I'm going to sort of rotate this over so that we create that nice lollipop look. I'm just going to move some of this stuff out of the way here, because sometimes I think the camera starts focusing on the wrong things and then you can't see what I'm doing. So I just want to make sure that you can see what's going on. All right, so now I want to wrap this loop up. So I'm going to take my chain nose pliers and I want to go across the top there, and I'm going to wrap that up. So you can use your bent chain nose pliers or your fingers, whatever works easier. So I'll show you both. There's with my fingers. And I just went down 2 times, and then I'm going to wrap back up a couple times. And this is going back up. I do find it a little bit easier to use my bent chain nose pliers than trying to do this with my fingers. Because see, that one didn't go so well. So I'm going to regroup and pull that back up. When you are creating your jewelry, you are the boss of it. So if it's not doing what you want it to do, just make it do what you want it to do. So even, people like me who've been making jewelry for a long time can still have things not end up exactly the way that they wanted. And so you can see I'm struggling a little bit with this one because it's being silly. So it does happen to all of us, because I think people think I'm perfect, but I'm not. I create things that don't always work out. But you can see by manipulating that wire, I got it to go exactly where I wanted, which was up a couple times. So I just bossed it around, made it work. So now I'm going to turn that over. I'm going to use the flush side of my cutters, and I'm going to give that a little trim. And I'm going to just tuck that little burr in. I can see that it's kind of sticking up there, so I take the end of my chain nose pliers and then just kind of push that down a bit. So I have not edited this out. You can see that it turned out exactly the way that I wanted it to, just by sort of bossing that wire around a bit. So now that's off just a little tiny bit. It's a bit crooked. So you just kind of straighten it out with your pliers, and that's exactly what we're going for. So now I'm going to take one of my little hibiscus flowers and pop that on. And now for the next loop that I'm going to create, I want it to be opposite to the loop that I have. So I'm not going to worry so much about where the bead is. I'm going to direct the loop where I want it to go. So I'm going to turn this so that I know that when I pull my wire over to the right, it will be going in the opposite direction to this one. So I'm going to use my flower as a bit of leverage. So I'm going to pull the flower down to make sure I don't have any gaps, and then just bend across. So don't worry about putting any bends or anything like that. We just want to have a nice sharp bend there. So now I'm going to repeat. I'm going to do a wrapped loop. So now you may find that you can't get in there because we've got the bead, but just get in there as much as you can. But we also need to create a loop that's large enough to accommodate this ring. So I'm going to go up just a little bit on the pliers, and I'm going to go up and over and straight down, open up my pliers, rotate them so they're parallel to the table, pull that straight to the back, and now you can see how off that is. So all I do is rotate the plier so that that brings that loop straight up, and then I pull that little arm down, and now you can see that's created a nice little loop. So now we're going to take that loop and we're going to pop our ring in there, and then now I take my chain nose pliers and I'm going to go across that little loop, and it's a lot of metals in the way, so you kind of have to again boss it around, get in there, get a good strong handhold, and then you're going to wrap down a couple times and then back up once or twice, just so that it's, you know, a nice neat look. And if I went a third time, that was going to get kind of too bunched up, so I'm just going to trim it there. So I'll give a little snip and then come in here and just kind of tuck anything down that needs to be tucked down and just sort of make it look the way that you want. This is a nice soft malleable wire, so you can kind of, you know, make it do what you want it to do. So now I'm going to figure out which is my front and my back, and I think that looks like my front. Now I can see that these are a little bit off kilter. This one's a little bent compared to this one. That's because it's a soft wire, so this gives you the opportunity to sort of bend it the way you want. So I want that one to be flat. And this isn't too bad. All it's done is it's bent over a little bit. So I'm just going to get in here and just kind of adjust it a bit. So now you can see that we have one loop going one direction and one going the other. So now what I want to do is take one of my large jump rings, and I'm going to open that up by taking my pliers and putting them on one side. And then I take my bent chain nose pliers on the other, and then I open up. And I'm going to take one of my pieces of chain and I'm going to find the third link down. So I just count down to the third one, and then I'm going to run it through the leaf. Now these leaves have sort of a concave side and a convex side. I want to have the convex side to the back and a little bit of a concave side to the right, or sorry, to the top. And now I'm going to take that little jump ring and pop it through there, and then I'm going to put it through my little distressed oval there, and I'm going to tighten this up, and you really want to make sure that that's, you know, popped in there nice and tight. So now you should have one longer length on one side and one shorter length on the other. Now you want to make sure when you create your second one that you turn that the other way, so that you have one shorter one on the inside and then your longer one on the outside. I keep the leaves the same only just because I don't want that, you know, because of the differences in the concave and convex. It would change the look of the earring. So I just change the change so that you've got your longer on the outside and your shorter on the inside. So now I'm going to create our little links on the bottom. So I'm going to take one of our fire polish and run it down to the bottom there. Now I need to create something that doesn't have much of a neck. So the way that I do it is I kind of take my thumbnail and just sort of bend there, and it doesn't give you much of a neck. So I just want to take my round nose pliers and create a small loop. So our up, over, down again, open up, and then just rotate it. And now this one you can put on the inside or the outside. It's your piece, you can do whatever you want. So I'm going to put mine on the inside and then pop that in there, and then we're just going to wrap that up. These head pins are a little bit on the bulkier side, so I'm not going to do any major wrapping. I'm just going to go down a couple times until that wire is filled up there. I'm not going to work my way back up because then it would just be a little bit too bulky. And we have to be a bit careful when we're working with these glass beads because we don't want to crack them. So too much heavy wire is not good next to a glass bead. So now when you're pushing down this little bit of a burr, you have to be careful that you're not you know, chipping your bead or anything like that. All right, now I'm going to take one of my pumpkin colored beads and repeat. So I just take my thumbnail, or you can just kind of, you know, bend it however you want, but just, again, don't create too much of a neck. And then we're going to create another wrapped loop. So go up and over and down, open up and rotate, and then pull that to the back, And then I just kind of lined it up. And now I want to find the other piece of chain. So I'm just going to pop it on that one there. And just pull that down inside. And then wrap that up. So again, if your hands aren't very strong, you can use your bent chain nose pliers, and always just grab the tip of the wire, and then that helps you kind of manipulate wherever you want to go. So I'm just pulling down twice on that one just because I don't want to, again, I don't want to get too close to that bead and perhaps chip my pretty glass bead. So now it's got a little bit of a burr there, and I'm just going to take the very tip of my pliers and push down. But again, be very careful. If it's sticking up too much and you're worried about chipping the bead, then just leave it. So now I'm going to make sure that this is at the front, and I'm going to pop my ear wire in, and I am going to close that shut. All right, I'm just going to finish the second one off camera, and I'll be right back to show you the completed pair. So there you go. There's our completed pair. I absolutely love these ones. I think they look so adorable on when they're dangling with all that movement from the chain. It gives it that really extra little bit of something that we're always looking for in our jewelry. So if you like this kit, you can access yours by going to the description box below this video, and there'll be a link that takes you to my website, which is www.kelliesbeadboutique.com. We have this kit plus a couple hundred other ones, all sorts of great materials and beads and all sorts of things that you can shop for at my site. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to give me a thumbs up, leave me a comment. I do love to hear from everybody. And please make sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already done so. I want to thank you so much for watching, and we will see you on the next one.